Hey, aloha to our newly elected freshman legislators. I'm Greg Misakian, president of Kokua Council, and we want to welcome everyone to today's freshman forum. Kokua Council congratulates all of you and welcomes back some of you who participated in our candidate forums during the election cycle. Today we welcome District 22 Senator Samantha DeCourt, District 20's Representative Tina Grandinetti, District 29's Representative Ikaika Hussey, District 25's Representative Kim Koko Iwamoto, District 50's Representative Michael Lee, District 2's Representative Susan Keoho Kapu Lee Loy, District 45's Representative Chris Muraoka, District 23's Representative Ekaika Olds, District 32's Representative Garna Shimizu, District 30's Representative Shirley Ann Templo, and unfortunately, District 40's Representative Julie Reyes Oda can't be with us today, but hopes to join us in the future. We have a lot of you here and not much time, so with that, I will hand it off to Lila Mower, Kokua Council's President Emerita, who will be your moderator for today's forum.
Aloha and mahalo for joining us today. We have a whole bunch of questions that we would like to go over. The questions will be posted in the chat. We are rotating the response, the order for people responding, and the order is Senator DeCourt, Representatives Graninetti, Hussey, Iwamoto, Lee, Liloy, Muraoka, O, Shimizu, and Templo. So let me start with the first question. We previously forwarded a proposed Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights written by Jim Shon, a former House representative, a Hawaii State representative, and a former Kokua Council president to the freshman legislators to review. Legislators, do you support this Bill of Rights? If there are any sections with which you disagree, please expound. And I'm going to put it up for our public to see. So I hope you all had a chance to review this. And we're going to start with Senator DeCourt.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here with Kokua Council and with its members and for the public for viewing. And I support the Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights. You know, what it really comes down to is everything that's listed here are really based on moral issues. I would consider this kind of a common sense type bill. And so we don't necessarily have a problem with laws, we have a problem with morals. And so a bill like this really is to keep morals in check and accountability in the state capitol. But to be honest, if we have to start creating laws to be more moral, people really shouldn't be in office. So I'll say that.
All right, thank you. Rep. Grandinetti, your answer, please.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm always excited to join the Kokua Council. I am right on board with this Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights. What I am excited to share is that in the House of Representatives, we are currently having really important conversations about how to reform our rules to make sure that this that the rights of citizens reflected in this bill is reflected in our practice. And so I think we can look to things like the Foley Commission and our rules working group in the House to kind of give us real substantive and actionable reforms that can kind of fulfill this Bill of Rights. And I know that some of my other fellow freshman legislators can share some more details about what we are proposing. But there are some simple ones that will help to democratize the committee process. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Hussey, your response, please.
Thanks so much for hosting this get together. Yeah, you know what? what is discussed in the Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights is really consistent with the Foley Commission, and it represents, I think, a lot of the reforms that we're looking to see in terms of the process. I agree with what what Senator DeCourt said about morals. It's really important that we have strong morals, and it's also really important that we have a process that aligns those morals with the actual outcome of the legislative, endeavor. So, I think it's really important that we get some rules changes right now in at least on the House side, so that we can have a better more democratic process. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Iwamoto?
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here as both a lifetime member of the Kokua Council, and I encourage everyone to join, and to be here as a new representative with my colleagues. Yes, I echo what everyone else said. Definitely support this. I've been campaigning on this concept of representational democracy, really. At least in the House, we're 51 representatives, and we should all be allowed to represent our constituents equally. And I love the language about dignity, respect, inclusion, regardless of seniority, faction, or party. That's so important, that we're all equals coming in to collaborate and to make better laws. So I'm really looking forward to working with everyone here to do just that. But we must be vocal, and we must make sure our voices are heard in the process.
Thank you. Ripley, your response, please.
Certainly, thank you for having me. The Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights is something I agree with Senator Court that it's common sense. And like Representative Hussey said, this is really about a process that the public should understand is transparent and one that they should be able to expect of us when working together. So yeah, I do agree with the Legislative Bill of Rights, and I look forward to working with everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, is Rep. Loy here? Rep. Loy, okay. Rep. Muraoka, your response, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for hosting and inviting us. Like everyone before me, I sincerely support this. I sincerely support any legislation, any type of Bill of Rights or resolutions that engage, in openness and using common sense. Like Ms. Iwamoto said just a few minutes ago, seniority, party, none of that should play when we're voting to support our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I call the next representative, I'm going to stop screen sharing. All right, and then Rep. Oates, your response, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I think it's kind of hard being this late in the line. Everyone's already said all the good stuff. I concur with my fellow legislators. I think this is going to be really important. And as Rep. Hussey was mentioning, there are conversations going on. And Rep. Grandinetti was mentioning, we have to do better. And as freshmen, we have an opportunity to make this change.
Thank you. Rep. Shimizu, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. I definitely agree with the Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights and what has been shared before. As Senator DeCourt mentioned, and I'd like to add to that, it's not only morals, but it's the spirit and heart of representing the people and opening it up for engagement from the community, because that's who we represent. And it's my heart too, and I'm sure everyone that's on this, our heart is to improve the quality of our lives and decentralize control from the few. And I just want to appreciate all the new legislators, the opportunity we have to make changes to the House rules. Give a shout out to Rep. Iwamoto for her efforts in this, and others who are trying to bring about meaningful change to House rules that have been set in place for a long time. and the opportunity to make it more available for the public. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Rep. Templo.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak with you all today. Yeah, like everyone has said, governance should be a place for the people. It should be a safe space where everyone can engage. It's about transparency, accountability, and accessibility. Just creating that framework to empower everyone to participate. I think that's great. And when I first saw this, I thought about the Aloha Spirit Law and how everyone should be treated in such a manner. So this goes hand in hand. It's about, putting people first and allowing us to work together effectively and collaborating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I don't know if I gave enough credence to Jim Shon again. He's a former House rep, but he shared the Citizens Bill of Rights with the Foley Commission, and he actually drafted this 2 or 3 years before the Foley Commission and shared it with the House and maybe all legislators. All right, the next question is now up in the chat, and it comes from our director, Dale Head. In our communication with legislators, we often hear that they support our proposals. Yet year after year, these proposals die despite strong testimonies in support, or sometimes die even before they're heard. Lobbyists have a visible influence, causing many to wonder about pay to play. Common Cause has a petition that aligns closely with the sentiments of Kokua Council's former president, Jim Shon. Their petition urges many changes that touch upon ethics in the legislature and legislative process, including term limits, fully public finance elections, prohibiting campaign contributions from certain parties, including government contractors, and prohibiting the transfer of campaign funds from one legislator to another. What do you think of these proposals? What other suggestions do you have, and how would you implement those changes? So we start with Rep. Grandinetti.
Thank you. Yeah, I support all of these proposals, and in my district race as well, this was a huge part of our conversation. Our community members care about this very deeply, and I think that's a really exciting moment in time that we're in right now, that aunties and uncles at the doors are talking about changes to our democratic process. It's not just the issues that impact their daily lives, but they're invested more than ever in how we do the work that we do in this building. And so I think we are kind of at a really important moment where we have to push to make sure that some of these changes get implemented now. And we also have to continue that push in the long term to make sure that some of those bigger lifts happen, more gradually maybe, but that we keep them in the public eye and keep them in the House conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Hussey?
So I think that all of the ideas listed in the question make a lot of sense. I'd like to add an additional thing to this list, which is, I think there's a sense that we're allowed to get a couple of big ideas passed every year, or maybe every few years. Last year happened to be the year of the big tax cuts, and I think that the thing that I'm looking for from our legislature, but also from the general civil society, is sort of an opening up of the sense of possibility. Like, we need to have big conversations about the future of Hawaii, especially in this new kind of context of a Trump presidency. And, we're seeing the kinds of appointments that Trump is making nationally. To me, this is like a really tricky and difficult time, but also really important time to be in elected office. And I would like to see kind of a broader conversation, not just about the reforms that need to take place, but also just in terms of overall policies. And I think that's a role for civil society.
Thank you. Rep. Iwamoto.
Thank you. So in addition to the petition, and I think there's approximately 2,000 signatories already, and it's my understanding that the community organizations are kind of going to identify which signatures are from whose district, and make sure that the individual representatives and senators know how many of their constituents signed on to this petition. Also, I think there are 8 neighborhood boards across Oahu that have signed on to a similarly worded resolution supporting good government reforms. And that's still building, and those are being circulated at least through the House. And maybe Senator Zakor can confirm whether or not they have been circulating through the Senate as well. But each time one of these resolutions are adopted, they do get sent to the legislature. And so it gives everyone notice, hey, there's another neighborhood board of your constituents that support this, so please take a stand.
Rep. Lee.
Thank you. Yeah, I support a lot of the intent behind a lot of these reforms proposals, and I think I'm open to having a conversation about a lot of them. I think what's really important in terms of transparency with our government is that we're making sure that we do it right, that we don't rush into things. But yes, I think we need government reform. Otherwise, a lot of us wouldn't be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, is Rep. Leloy here? Not yet. Okay. Rep. Muraoka.
Hi, yes, so I support this as well, but I would like to see even more done about the ethics part of it. I feel like so many of us, even as freshmen, especially freshmen, and even some of us sophomores, a lot of us feel this way, and we're on this Zoom here. We're all gonna say the right thing. I'd like to see the right things done. We need to have integrity and not be pressured and or backdoored through parties or party pressure. So absolutely, I support this, but we need to see more done because everybody in the public eye is going to say the right thing. But behind closed doors, we're going to get bullying, we're going to get pressured, we're going to get stuff like that. That's not going to happen to me, and I'm not going to allow it to happen in any of my constituents.
Rep. Muraoka. Rep. Oates, please. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to Rep. Oates. Rep. Oates, are you in now?
Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm doing dual tech right now. So, again, following up with some great people, they kind of said a lot. I agree with this. I think there needs to be a lot of changes to make more honest government. And again, as freshman legislators, there's a lot of us, and if we can unify, we can make a lot of good changes.
Thank you. Rep. Shimizu.
I agree with all of these, and a lot of these were part of my messaging, and I believe a great part of the reason I was elected into office is because people are tired of the same old, and they are looking for open government. One of the items on the list that I want to expand on is campaign spending. And I believe what is written, that the love of money is the root of all evil. And I would like to see
Did you call her?
campaign spending and
Oh, Rep. Shimizu, you've been muted. Can someone?
Okay, it came up and I unmuted myself. Sorry, I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm not sure where I got cut off. But as I was talking about campaign spending and fundraising limits, I feel like if we put the emphasis not on money and the influence money has, but really on the candidates and the positions, their character, and just focusing on the candidate themselves and not on money and marketing, that would go a long way. I'm really excited that we have a group of open-minded fellow legislators who are on the same page. And as Rep. Muraoka mentioned, I'm hopeful and optimistic that it will go beyond words and good thoughts, and that we would be able to accomplish actual meaningful legislation that would accomplish all of these. So I'm really excited. Thank you everyone for being part of it.
Thank you, Rep. Shimizu. All right, Rep. Templo?
Thank you so much for bringing up this question. And yes, just last week at the Kalihi Palama Neighborhood Board, we did approve the good government reform resolution. So that will be circulating around the Capitol. Yes, I agree with the intent of all that was proposed. And coming from, sorry, I can hear the airplane. Coming from a grassroots type of campaign, I understand the difficulties of this pay to play, and allowing people the opportunity to really get involved and not be afraid, and the intent as well, and I do support this.
Thank you. Senator Cort.
So I feel like we talk about this over and over again. If not every legislative session, it's definitely every election year. We talk about election reform, we talk about ethics reform. And the fact of the matter is that there is a supermajority that controls the culture in the Hawaii State Legislature. So if they really wanted to reform it, they could reform it. As example, term limits have been introduced every single year, yet it doesn't even get a hearing. So again, this question goes hand in hand with the Citizens Legislative Bill of Rights. But the bottom line is if the supermajority wanted to get it passed, it would get passed. So I mean, at time and time, we keep talking about the same things over and over again. Nothing gets done, which is why we continue to have record low voter turnout, is because the public just doesn't trust us. It doesn't trust that we're ethical. It doesn't trust that we're moral. And if we don't start really changing the laws or shifting the culture, we'll find the same thing over and over again.
Very much. All right. And then the next question, let me post it on the chat. Senator DeCourt, I hope you'll modify the question as a senator. So this is a question. Several of the newly elected representatives have publicly committed to pursuing internal House reform. House reps are allowed to introduce 20 bills per session. Please ask the freshman representatives if they are committed to introducing fewer than 20 bills each session in a commitment to make the sessions more manageable. And if not, will they limit their bill package to 20, or will they request exemptions to submit more than 20 bills, as other representatives have done in the past? So we start with Rep. Hussey.
I think you're overestimating the amount of power that I or other is in the freshman class have. I don't expect it, even if I were to make a request for an exemption, that I would get that request authorized. I plan to introduce exactly how many, as many bills as I can. And if the limit is 20, then that's how many I'm going to introduce. But I'll be honest, I haven't even heard what the limit is. So, I'll do what I can to make our community better. Yeah, go on. Next person. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard, thank you. Sorry, Rep. Uwamo. I heard that the limit for everyone in the House was 20. I would be happy if it was everyone had 7, but also that would require us to basically upload all of our bill ideas and concepts onto a huge grid so that we can know what everyone else is working on, so that we can collaborate and have better bills, get filed. That would be the key, I think. Also, one of the things that wasn't on the that hasn't been mentioned yet is an idea that if 17 representatives co-sign or co-introduce a bill, it gets an automatic first hearing. This idea that we're working together and that kind of collaboration should be rewarded. It should be a nod to leadership that people are willing to work together to support bills. And I think it was 9 for the Senate. But that's something that can be done. It's something that we could agree on.
Thank you. All right. Rep. Lee, please.
Certainly. I'm definitely committed to 20 or less, especially if it becomes House rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Rep. Leloy, your response, please. I thought I saw her.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me join a little late here. Absolutely committed. I think the other tool that we have in the toolbox, just like Rep. Iwamoto mentioned, is the ability to join with other members of the House. And so I think the tools that we have available, I think there's a number of pathways that we have to have a very successful session.
Thank you very much. All right. Rep. Muraoka.
Hello. So I just kind of wanted to echo Rep. Hussey in the fact that, yeah, we are smaller, but, you know, Ms. Iwamoto brings out a really, really good point again and again. Our voices should be equally heard. We don't care if you've been in the building for 20 years or we're freshmen. We're all representatives. We get the same amount of pay, the same amount of recognitions. Our voice volume should be equally heard. I think when and if that ever was to happen, then absolutely we could support turning in less bills. Right now, we want to put as many out there as we can because we're using the throw net method. Put as many as we can introduce and see which ones will get caught. But if our voices were equally heard as true representatives, we could all each put 5 and respectfully listen to everyone else's bills.
Oh, Rep. Muraoka, you've been muted. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done.
all right. Thank you. Rep. Olds?
I'm going to start every time by saying I'm following the greatness here. So I agree. And I actually agree with Rep. Morioka here. You know, as freshmen, we have coming in new, lots of ideas, and you know, limiting bills means sometimes you might have to make bills more intricate. So say, for example, there's a specific niche that you're trying to operate in, and if you're limited, you have to kind of fill what you have with a lot of different things concerning one single issue. And you might be able to break that apart into smaller bills, easier bills to digest, because something inside of a larger bill may not pass because people just don't like it, versus they may really like something else that's inside of a bill. So there's both sides, and I agree with the collaboration between the reps. If there was a method for us to understand what everything is being put on the table in terms of bills for the other reps, then yeah, we don't need to double dip and double submit a similar bill. We can collaborate with that one rep. So either way.
Thank you very much. All right, Rep. Shimizu?
I love the conversation here and just hearing from everyone that's buying in and being part of this change. I guess it goes back to what Senator Decourt had mentioned earlier, that we currently do have a supermajority, and if they're serious about these changes, we can make those changes. I love what Representative Iwamoto and others have said about coordinating our efforts. I've gone on record with Civil Beat or Star Advertiser questionnaire that we should actually limit the total amount of bills because we have a limited time. We need to prioritize our efforts and address the things that are most important and will affect our quality of life in an efficient manner. So I'm a proponent of coming up with a top 25 priority lists that is agreed upon, and every bill should be addressing those priorities so that we can make the most powerful and efficient changes to our society. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Rep. Tetlow.
Yes, I am for committing to lessening my bill amounts per session. I think also we have to consider I guess majority and minority caucuses and the legislative priorities that we bring forth, and what priorities we as a whole would like to focus on. But yes, I'm all about government efficiency, and I am committed to limiting my bills if so. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Decourt?
So in the Senate, we can introduce unlimited bills, whether you're a freshman or seasoned. We don't have a limit on our bills, but bill introduction is not the problem. The problem is getting our bills heard and getting our bills passed. So right now, the way the culture of the building is that the chair will dictate, chair of the committee, it has to go through certain committees, but the chair of the committee will dictate whether that bill gets a hearing or not. And again, because there's no accountability, that could mean anything. The chair could just not hear the bill just because. Maybe legally they see some flaws, or maybe they just don't like you. So again, the real issue here is the culture of the building. I can introduce 1,000 bills and not get anything even heard, which is what you're ultimately doing, is you're silencing my community that elected me, and not giving us a platform, not giving us a voice, and not allowing us to have our input and the structure of the culture being changed.
Thank you very much. Rep. Grandinetti?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I commit to sticking with the bill limit, and it's sort of as has been stated by other folks. It's not so much because I think that the number of bill introductions is the problem. I think that's more of a process question, but also because I think that crafting a good bill means collaborating very deeply with advocates and community members and other representatives, and that takes a lot of work. So 20 feels very reasonable to me, as long as those 20 are reflective of that collaboration. And I do think that Rep. Muraoka and Rep. Olds highlighted some really key issues with the process, that there are a lot of people who are introducing everything they can or breaking up bills into smaller, more manageable bills just to see what is going to stick. And if we make these more meaningful reforms, then hopefully we can have a process that allows for more meaningful conversation.
Thank you very much. All right, the next question comes from our Director and IT Master, Doug Matsuoka.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for doing this. Simple question, answerable even with a yes or no. Climate change issues, is that important for the 2025 legislature?
Thank you, Doug. So we start with Rep. Iwamoto.
Absolutely. If we don't figure out how to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and slow down and reverse the warming process, we're going to have more climate triggering disasters that are going to hurt people, their lives, as well as property and the ability to continue to live and thrive in Hawaii. So it has to be a priority. But that said, we also, it's going to take some investment of resources to address this, to mitigate, how we have to make some hard choices about how we want to take care of Hawaii and our future for the next generations. And I'm willing to make those hard choices, and I hope my colleagues will too.
Rep. Lee?
What is that?
Yeah, thank you. Certainly. I think climate change is an important issue internationally. I think it's nationally, and of course for our state, and especially for my district. My district is majority of Kailua on the windward side, at least on Oahu. It's the last most thriving areas. Yet we've seen what's happened over time with climate change, and we've been impacted firsthand by that. So it is an important issue, and I will advocate to help climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Rep. Lee Loy.
Yeah, actually, I would love for us as members of the House to continue to build on some of the key points that we've done in other counties. Hawaii County has established an Office of Climate Change and Resiliency. We've been able to secure a number of grants. Along with the aged infrastructure, like mentioned, we're going to have to make some key investments in some of our roads for those areas that will be inundated at some point down the road. And I think the planning for that and the resource investment has to start absolutely right now. We see a lot of our infrastructure projects take years to get planned, secure the resources, and then get built. And so whether it's addressing sea level rises, moving our roads and the infrastructure that are in those areas, it has to start right now. And I've been in planning for probably 25 years, and that's the time it takes for these things to happen.
Thank you, Representative. All right, Rep. Muraoka, please.
Oh boy, here we go. So, climate change. The only climate change I immediately want to see in the 2025 legislator is homelessness, crime, transportation, things that I was voted into, things that my community needs. If you study science over the past 25, 30 years, climate change is a 50-50 deal. Depends on which scientist, which school you ask. So when it comes to climate change, I'd like to see the climate of our communities change first. We have so much crime, so much homeless, so much situations that I feel take tremendous leads over our sea level rising. In Hawaii here, we call them king tides. Okay, I don't know if in the mainland they might call them sea level rise. So is it a huge priority of our community, my community that I represent? Probably not. It may be a priority, just not one of the top ones.
Thank you, Rep. All right, and Rep. Oates, you're next.
I think the issue of climate change, I can't speak for the other legislators, but it's important to me in the regards that my district is all low-lying. So my entire district is susceptible to flooding. The entire district is in a tsunami zone. And we have three major waterways that kind of cut our district into pieces. So we are in constant talks in our district in regards to climate change and resiliency. The big Army Corps of Engineers project on the Alawai and the streams that feed into it has been going on for years, and that's a huge concern for the constituents. But again, you know, if king tides come in, the Alawai does have a high probability of flooding. It gets right up to the brim on our side. And because our entire district is flat leading up to the base of the hills in Manoa, we can flood. And that's a big concern for a lot of our residents. The insurance is a big concern for a lot of the residents. Now that the new FEMA flood maps have come out, a lot of people are concerned. So I am personally concerned because of those issues, and I would support it.
Thank you. Rep. Shimizu?
I think climate change is important to consider in coordination with the bigger issues, as Rep. Muraoka mentioned, cost of living, crime, housing. I think it's important to coordinate, especially with our INA. And I think I go back to what Rep. Hussey had mentioned. We need to step back and look at the big picture of what is the future of our Hawaii INA and the Hawaii that we want to have, and how do we coordinate our development and resources to help the people in the best manner. And I think those common sense decisions will dictate what is best for everyone going forward in managing even competing interests, but coming to a middle ground, which is the best decision for everyone going forward in achieving the most for the most people. Thank you.
Rep. Templo?
So climate change is a critical issue, especially with my house district. My area has places like Kalihi, Hickam, Pearl Harbor, and we're around like low-lying areas, so we're very susceptible to flooding. Just yesterday at church, a lady came up to me and asked if I could help her with the flooding in front of her house. And this is a conversation that has been happening like 10 years ago. So really, we should have done something before, but we only can do what we can now. And I look forward to working on helping with climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Senator DeCourt.
I'll speak for the Waianae Coast since that's the district that I represent. This is not on the top 10 priorities on the Waianae Coast. As many of you know, we're dealing with many issues here. Number one is going to be crime, homelessness, housing, and the list can go on and on. So what I will say is that the issue that we're dealing with here is we do have a lot of fuel loads here. Our area is very dry. So we do encounter a lot of fuel loads. So what would happen is that if we encounter another lahaina here on the Waianae Coast, we only have one way in and one way out. So I think for our district, I would continue to champion for a second road out. When or if that ever happens, that we do have a solution to that. So I'll say that.
Thank you. And Rep. Graninetti?
Thank you. Yeah, to me, everything is a climate change issue now. It's not so much a question of whether climate change is an important issue, but that every issue that we address in the House now intersects with the impacts of climate change. We know, I'm interested in housing. We see insurance costs skyrocketing. In my district, we have houses literally falling into the ocean. It intersects with economic development, with food sovereignty and agriculture, planning, infrastructure. It's just, we are dealing with impacts now. And I think our challenge as legislators is going to be to take our changing context really seriously and approach each of our different subject matter areas with a knowledge that these changes are coming, and in order to make responsible decisions for our future, we really need to take them seriously.
Thank you. And Rep. Hussey.
I'm going to take Doug's question in the spirit in which it was received, which is with a one-word answer. Yes, climate change is absolutely an issue that we need to be considering. But I will expound since I have more time, which is to say that I think about things not in terms of how it affects me and us now, but how it affects future generations. I think about how climate change is going to affect our children, our grandchildren. This year was the hottest year in recorded history. It will be the coldest year in the lifetime of our children and grandchildren. So, we need to think big. We need to think long term, frankly. And Rep. Leloy is correct. We need to think in terms of it takes a long time to build infrastructure, to move whole communities, which is what we're going to have to do in order to move away from the shoreline. We have to think about that in terms of planning scenarios, 25 years. And part of that is a bunch of changes that we need to make in the short term, making the DPP work better so that we can make the changes quickly that we're going to have to make. We're going to have to loosen up funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So the next question is a long question, and we start with Rep. Lee. Governor Green issued an emergency proclamation in August of this year regarding the extremely high cost of condominium insurance, which has spiked dramatically in the last few years. Unfortunately, this well-published and circulated proclamation has not provided any real solutions. A second proclamation was issued when the first expired in October, extending the emergency period to December 3rd. What do you think should be done to help condominium owners and associations who are burdened with unaffordable insurance rate increases? Also, what do you think should be done to stabilize the insurance market in Hawaii with the understanding that the reinsurance market is not regulated? So Rep. Lee.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm just reading the second one more time. In lieu of a lot of the problems we're having, insurance is increasing, not only for condos, but for homeowners as well. I think there is a role that the state has as state legislators that we can be doing to mitigate some of these issues, not only with infrastructure, fire mitigation and other things in the future, but the state has a role to make sure that those who set those insurance rates are not charging our local residents as much as they are. And I'll concede my time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Rep. Leloy.
Thank you so much. I love this question. We've been struggling with this for Hawaii Island for years now, ever since lava inundated a whole community of ours. I think the tools that we have in our toolbox definitely allow for us to create a fund that would help with homeowners insurance, whether it is business insurance, farm insurance. I think some of the other pieces that we've added in, like our Firewise program, to demonstrate to our insurance carriers that we are putting in Firewise programs to help lessen the risk. I think all of those tools that we have, in addition to, I've been watching California after their Paradise fires and what they've done at the legislature to ensure that homeowners, businesses, actually have a stable insurance fund called Fund of Last Resort that help fixed income homeowners tap into that fund. So, but the bottom line in all of this is a lot of our insurance providers don't manage their portfolios where they have high risk on one side of that. So I think that's the tool.
Thank you. All right, Rep. Muraoka had to leave. So Rep. Odes, your response, please. Oh, you're muted.
There we go. As a condo owner myself and living in a district where we have high proportions of our constituents living in multi-story apartments or high rises, this is a huge issue for us. You know, in addition to creating a fund, I would also like to, sorry, it sounds like someone's trying to open my doors. I would also even look in things like tax breaks for buildings to come up to code. So in our district, a really big driver for insurance is water problems. So delayed maintenance is causing leaks, and you know, we can go into the leadership of associations and all that, you know, but that's a different conversation. But finding ways for the buildings to not delay the maintenance that is required, namely in our district, updating their pipes and doing the retrofits. If they have to get the sprinkler systems, getting the sprinkler systems, but empowering the associations to be able to make the determination, hey, we can do this maintenance. We're going to be getting either a big credit or combining it with a fund, but that way to help protect the building and then thus get cheaper rates for their insurance.
Thank you. Rep. Shimizu, your response, please.
I'm not sure if my audio is okay. I know my camera was kind of freaking out there, but you know, this is definitely a serious problem. I'm really concerned about seniors who are on fixed income that are experiencing these special assessments or even significant increases in their maintenance. So something has to be done. I'd like to see, besides the emergency proclamation, is maybe an emergency task force that meets with the insurance carriers and stakeholders and see what could be done, if anything. It's very difficult for government to dictate to private enterprise what happens on this, but I think also the AOAOs, which I have been a part of a handful of them, the leadership on that, because they self-manage their buildings, I think could use some help. I'm not sure how that looks like, but you know, whether they're making the best decisions with their limited resources as far as personnel and expertise is questionable, and that could be addressed without infringing on personal rights. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Ducourt, your response, please.
I was actually hoping that Rep. Iwamoto would have gone before me. She's definitely the expert in this field as far as I'm concerned. I almost want to yield my time to her. But the Hawaii State Legislature definitely needs to step in. This is an issue that's absolutely affecting our condo owners. And we've seen hike-ups past 1,000% increase in their condo rates, and owners are paying more in their rates than they are in their mortgage. So again, this affects our ability to continue to live here in Hawaii. And we absolutely need to make this a priority going into the 2025 election. I'm sorry, 2025 legislative session. But I'm looking to really partner with the House and do some kind of companion bill that we can all lobby together. So I'll say that.
Thank you, Senator. All right, Rep. Grandinetti.
Thanks. This is an issue I'm really kind of trying to do my homework on because it is so complex. And I think that there are some things that I'm interested in talking about in the short term. California requires insurers to give a discount to homeowners and owner associations that are taking steps to mitigate wildfire risk. So there are things we could do to kind of incentivize loss prevention and maintenance. Alabama uses an insurer's fee to fund a grant program for homeowners to make roof upgrades. In my district, where some of our homes are reaching like 100 years old, that is something I could really see benefiting some of our fixed income, elderly homeowners. And those are all, that's not enough to stabilize the market, but those are some things that I could see helping in the long term. And then one thing that I would really like to see is I wonder, like the question states, our reinsurance market is not regulated. So are there ways we can work with our federal delegation to start regulating these massive multinational companies that are impacting our everyday lives?
Thank you. All right, Rep. Hussey.
So I'll just pick up from where Tina left off, which is to say that insurance, the insurance industry generally is unregulated, except at the state level. And I think that there's at least an argument to be made for, if the federal government is not going to regulate, that the state of Hawaii should absolutely regulate. I am concerned about the use of public monies to backstop private decisions. It leads to the problem of moral hazard. On the other hand, and I think that there's a kernel of an idea that I'd like to develop that Sue Loy mentioned, which is, if we were to establish some sort of fund, then the fund could be used as an equity source that condo owners or that HOAs could essentially borrow against in order to make the necessary modifications to their structures, which would make them more resilient to fire, hurricane, et cetera. And so, I think that that's one improvement we can make over the way that the private insurance industry functions right now, where there's no equity to be tapped into.
Thank you. And Rep. Iwamoto.
Pressure's on. Okay, so regarding seniors who are on a fixed income, the federal government actually has a program that I'm sure is underfunded, but it's called the Home Equity Conversion Mortgages for Seniors, and they have to be income qualified. It's kind of like a reverse mortgage where that gap of what they can't afford gets paid for by the government, and then when the individual I guess passes away, and the property is going to go to the equity that's left over is going to go to the heirs. The government is repaid, and that fund is filled up again, but also if it happens that the equity actually just there's not enough equity, and the elderly person is like, okay, well, I don't have any more equity now at this point because of the upside down thing that Senator DeCourt mentioned. So then we can actually make sure we have senior housing to move these seniors into, but we need to make sure we have that senior housing that meets them at their income, and we're having a problem with that now.
Thank you very much. All right, the next question is posted in the chat, and it goes to Rep. Lee first. Assuming that the insurance market is in crisis and climate change affects Hawaii, why is the government allowing the new construction of buildings within hazard zones, such as lava zones, tsunami zones, etc.? For instance, look at Kakaako. Should the government take a more proactive role in mitigating or preventing climate-related disasters? Or do developers have the last word? Rep. Lee?
I'm sorry. I thought I took the first question on the last one. But no, related to what I said last time, I think the government should be taking a more proactive role in mitigating climate change, especially as it relates to insurance.
Thank you very much. All right, Rep. Loy.
Actually, having done construction for a while and as it relates to insurance, really it's the owner. If the owner can afford it, then they can go ahead and build. If they can't get insurance, that's entirely up to them. What I've seen in the construction industry as it relates to insurance, for them to secure a building permit, requires this and the loan program that goes with it. If they're fortunate enough to have enough resources where they don't have to secure a loan, then they should have an opportunity to build whatever. The real risk is what it relates to when you need emergency response. And so all of it is all interconnected and interrelated. At the end of the day, most construction of new housing projects will adhere to all of those lava zones, hazard zones, flood zones, you name it. And so it really is an individual property owner that will run the most risks as it relates to construction and insurance.
All right, Rep. Oates, your response, please.
I think the government should have a place in ensuring that the appropriate coverages are put in place. I do have friends that were in was it Keikilahana when they had all those fiascos after it was constructed, and all of a sudden the maintenance had to shoot up. What was it, like $1,000 a month or something crazy? Something went wrong somewhere, and I defer to Representative Leroy's wisdom on top of this. I think she gave an insightful perspective from someone in the know, for someone like me who's not in the know on that side. And I think we need to have a conversation here within the Capitol, bringing in people like Rep. Leroy that has some experience and learning, and then seeing where we can come with a happy medium.
Thank you very much. All right, Rep. Shimizu, your response, please.
Yeah, this is a tough and complicated question, and I don't think there's a simple answer for this. What Rep. Leroy touched upon is, individual rights as property owners. I think what comes to mind is the end user, which is the consumer, needs to be forewarned of the risks that they take or buy into when they purchase any of these products, and that's my concern, is protecting the public.
Thank you very much. All right, then we go to Senator DeCourt.
So it really comes down to the insurance companies. If the insurance companies are going to insure it, then the consumers will continue to purchase. It is a prerequisite if you're getting a home loan, but if you've, got a bag full of money and you want to start buying up property that could potentially have a risk, then that's their kuleana. So I think it really does lie with the insurance companies, but then also we're finding insurance company continuing to drop policies because they realize that the risk is just too much. So I feel like it leans more to the insurance company.
Thank you. Representative Grandinetti?
Yeah, I think that the government should take a more proactive role. And the reason is that even when the risk falls to the private owner, when that risk actually comes to pass, and becomes a reality, the private owner comes to the state for support. So we see that again and again on the North Shore when houses are falling into the ocean and property owners are asking for assistance. We are gonna see it in Kakaako when I just learned that all of those glass buildings are not Category 5, resistant, and we have one of the things we're holding out for is these older condos are seeing the insurance rates rise. What we're not accounting for is the fact that these newer condos might see their insurance dropped at much sooner, because they weren't built to withstand these new hazards. And so and also let's not forget that we are spending public monies on infrastructures for big developments like Kakaako. So I definitely think we have a role to play, not just in mitigating risk, but planning proactively and altering our planning practices in a way that is, that accepts this new reality and kind of tries to create a safer future for the consumer and just for us as people.
All right, Rep. Hussey.
Right. This is the moral hazard problem, right? Where where public dollars are involved, when the state is basically standing behind private companies, then the state it's going to encourage a lot of behavior which should not happen. And just to really put a layer of frosting on top of this conversation, we should remember that the entire rail system is built within the sea level rise exposure area. And that's a $10 billion piece of publicly funded infrastructure that we decided to build in an area that we know will be underwater within, our lifetime. So I think it's really important that we not backstop unnecessarily. And the other thing is what Senator DeCourt was talking about, is that really the insurance markets are functioning the way they're supposed to function. They're speaking for money, and they're saying that these certain, some projects really shouldn't be happening. They're too expensive to happen. They're too risky to happen. And that's really in a very appropriate role for private insurance.
Thank you. Rep. Iwamoto?
So for the lava zones, I think it's we need to look at mobile housing that you can drive faster than the lava's flowing, hopefully. And then for Kakaako, one of the the question comes up whenever the developers go to the neighborhood boards, and they're like, well, we're mitigating for coastal sea level rise by elevating the footprint, the foot of the structure like 13 inches. And if you look at, for instance, the condos that are built into Ala Moana Park Lane, it starts very high up. Their parking, everything is elevated. So they're counting on gondola service at some point in the future. That'll be like Venice. But what they're not counting for is the sewer system, and the electrical lines are all running actually below sea level at this point. So I don't know where they think all that's going to go. But definitely it is, there's this level of investor kind of accepting the risk.
Thank you very much. And Rep. Iwamoto and let's see, Rep. Lee, I guess it's 11:40. So thank you for joining us today. I'm sorry that I didn't get to thank your other colleagues, but the representatives that can remain with us, please do. We're not done yet. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hi, this is Rep. Olds. I'm going to have to skedaddle too.
Okay,
to this
thank you.
caucus.
All right, thank you very much.
And I'm going as well, but I will tune in from my cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe, Lila, this is Greg. Maybe we just do one more question so that if the others need to go, unless they don't need to go. I'm not sure if they're going to join.
Well, we had planned till 12, so let's just go on and see what we have. Okay, so I believe the next representative I have on my list, if I'm current, is Representative Lee Loy. And if that's the case, this is the next question. As you see, this is the next question. Here it is. It's a long question. To increase housing, there are proposals that encourage looser permitting regulations, including that non-permitted construction should be grandfathered in with permitting requirements waived, and ADU constructions are allowed in certain qualified communities. However, these proposals do not appear to satisfy long-term consequences, seeking expediency, but missing consideration for safety and for deficient infrastructure. Recently, the Honolulu City Council moved closer to approving Bill 46, which imposes an empty homes tax if a property sits for 6 months or more without anyone living in it. While the bill's intention is to provide for more housing in Hawaii is good, a similar empty homes tax in San Francisco was recently struck down in Superior Court. Will you always make sure to fully evaluate the consequences of the bills that you introduce, promote, and or vote on? And if so, how? So Rep. Lee Loy, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of our policy work is incredibly complex. As it relates to housing, I think the housing suite of bills that the legislature passed last year, which I'm critically interested in, is our adaptive reuse. We've seen people actually augment the way that they work now. And what the adaptive reuse bill does is take abandoned commercial structures and adapt them into housing. It's been an incredible tool for housing across the country that everybody is solving for. And the infrastructure and the footprint and the framework, it's all there. It's just having to be readapted to fit for housing. I think that is the quickest way we can get housing on the market. I think like anything, more housing cost comes down. If we flood the market with housing, then it becomes more affordable. Those are the tools that I would love to see be used and updated.
Very much. I believe the next representative would be Rep. Shimizu.
To answer your question specifically, will you always make sure to fully evaluate? Yes, I definitely will. I think the danger in legislatures typically is to make broad brush bills that one size fits all, and it doesn't work like that. Obviously, I'm not an expert on every topic, and it's important to listen to my fellow legislators. I mean, even this town hall right here, this Zoom call, we're hearing different perspectives, and I'm learning and open to learn from others, and to always be open for the best idea, what makes the best sense. Going back to Senator Decourt, common sense, and sometimes common sense is not so common, or it's not common amongst us, because what we feel is common, we might disagree, and that's where we need to understand facts, be able to have objective conversations and make decisions which are in the best interest of the most people. But a lot of problems, no easy answers. But again, if we work collaboratively with each other with open minds, we can accomplish a lot.
All right, thank you. Senator Decourt.
So laws have consequences, and it just depends on who's going to be carrying a heavier burden of that consequence. We do have a testimonial feature when bill passing, but there's not a lot of public participation in that. So making it easier for the community to weigh in on bills definitely helps with the decision-making process. So for me personally, being able to vet a bill out into my community would gauge whether it's a bill that I support or whether it's a bill that I oppose. So for me, it would be getting the word out to my community in order to evaluate the consequences and what does this mean for my district. What it might work for another district, it might work for many other districts, but I have to vote according to what is going to be beneficial and what would help to elevate my community. So case by case.
Thank you very much. Representative Grandinetti.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a tough task, making sure you fully evaluate the consequences of the bills you introduce. That is our job. And it means, again, constant collaboration with industry, with community stakeholders, with other representatives. And what I'm really excited about in our freshman class is I feel that we represent a pretty diverse range of professional experience and expertise. You could kind of see that just on our call. We have, DOE experience, council experience, planning and contracting, community organizing. So I think that's going to be an asset for us. In terms of kind of the housing related measures that were mentioned in the question and unintended consequences, one of the things that I'm really interested in doing in my first session is kind of focusing on pathways towards disincentivizing speculation, because I think a lot of the housing proposals kind of neglect the fact that if 20 to 40% of new homes are being purchased by out-of-state buyers, no matter how much we build, we're still not getting to the crux of the issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and Rep. Hussey?
So in regards to the empty homes tax idea, I think that's an interesting notion. Devil is always in the details. I'd like us to remind ourselves that Hawaii has a completely different common law than the state of California, like completely different. And so, how things play out in the California Superior Court is going to be very different than how the Hawaii Supreme Court is going to consider these items. The other thing is that, just in my district, we have several homes that have burned down, or have been abandoned for several different reasons. And They've been sitting here, sitting there for years at this point. I hazard that an empty homes tax wouldn't actually encourage whoever is the current property owner to actually move forward with trying to make it occupable. So I'm interested in kind of what are the other kind of carrots and incentives or beneficial structures that could be used to get those abandoned homes into the rental market as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much. All right. The next question is going to be our last question. There's about at least another 10 more questions we had. This comes from one of our directors of Kokua Council. Are you in favor of paid family leave for working caregivers to address the needs of family members requiring care? If yes, how would you propose to fund paid family leave? And the question goes to Rep. Lee Loy.
Yeah, I'm in full support of that. Actually, paid family leave for caregivers. I just have some lived experience. I have a son with special needs. And so the ability to help him and care for him really becomes very taxing. I think to help figure out ways to fund that, I think there are tools within the Department of Health programs that we could fund to help provide other caregivers and other resources so that we as parents can have some respite while we're caring for them. I think those are the tools that are available to us, and I would love to see more funding head in that direction.
Thank you. All right, I believe Rep. Shimizu is next.
Hi, I'm sorry. I wasn't really paying attention because I was looking
saw
forward to the next meeting. So
Yeah.
I really I'm reading the question now. Are you in favor of I'm in favor of helping families that have this important need that's all encompassing. So how we exactly do that, again, the devil is in the details. I think the intent would be there to help. How it's carried out, I'm open to further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Senator DeCourt.
So I do support the paid family leave for working caregivers. How that's going to be paid for could be done through a number of ways. I would suggest as that future caregiver is on a place of employment, that maybe a portion of their check be set to the side. We kind of know our families. We know, who's probably going to need help in the next 20, 30 years. My in-laws are to the point where they're coming up that age. So we're making arrangements here at home that when that time does come, we can have them come and live with us and move with us. So we do set it up for the future that way. And I think to portion it out per paycheck is something that obviously will be voluntary, but something that we can kind of maybe predict in the future that we can just set aside for.
Thank you. Rep. Grandinetti?
This issue is really important to my community. I actually really had tearful conversations at the door with people who are caring for young children and aging parents at the same time with very little help. And they feel ignored and also really overwhelmed by trying to navigate a system that is not designed accessibly. And so this is a real priority for me. In terms of how it's funded, I think I'm still learning about different models, but that, employer and employees both making contributions seems to be the one that's used by most states. I know Minnesota has a really successful program that follows that same model, but I'm open to learning about other ways that we can fund this and make it accessible and kind of long lasting for as many people as we can.
All right, thank you. And Rep. Hussey?
So I think that employer and employee contributions to a fund makes sense, in the context of paid family leave. The other piece is, I'd like to see that the proceeds from that fund that a person has accrued, that they're usable not just to pay family members for care, but also to pay professional caregivers for care as well.
Thank you very much. All right, well, that was the end of our questions, although we have many more, but we ran out of time. I'd like to allow each of you, representatives, senator, a minute for your closing statement, and I'll start with Representative Shimizu.
Thank you again for this great opportunity. Thank you for the Kokua Council for the important work you do. And I totally agree and believe in the mission of representing our seniors and the most vulnerable in our communities. Again, I'm so pleased to have important conversation, learning from my fellow legislators and wanting to do the best in the most efficient way. So all of this discussion is all part of it, and there's a lot of work to be done, and I look forward to working really hard for our community and making a better Hawaii for our future. So aloha and mahalo.
Mahalo, Representative Shimizu. All right, Senator DeCourt, your closing statement.
Well, I just wanted to put out the invitation to the general public that our legislative session opening day is January 15th. Details are still being announced, but I want to welcome everybody to come, be a part of the process, and continue to keep us accountable. I mean, community engagement is so important. A lot of the times we get lost in the weeds. So to make sure that we have that community advocate is very important. But I want to thank Kokua Council for the invitation for the public that is viewing this live and also the recording as well. But I'm honored to serve, and mahalo from the Waianae Coast.
Mahalo, Senator DeCourt. All right, Representative Grandinetti, your closing statement, please.
Thank you so much. Kokua Council forums are always my favorite, very thorough, and such a great opportunity to learn about, our fellow candidates' perspectives and now our fellow freshman cohort. Really excited to work with all of you folks over the next 2 years. Thank you again.
Mahalo, Representative Grandinetti. All right, Rep. Hussey, your closing statement, please.
Well, thank you very much for this gathering, and I think that we all do our best work when we're sort of under pressure and when we are pushed by our constituents to do our very, very best. So I really encourage everyone to please stay engaged in the legislative process, be engaged in the electoral process, and just keep pushing forth to have a better and better democracy. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Representative. All right, Representative Lila, your closing statement, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to the Kokua Council. I learned a fun fact that this next year, 2025, we will have 3 generations of retirement age. So we will have our baby boomers, our Gen Zs, and our Gen Xers, which I am a part of, being able to go to Ross's on Tuesday. But that being said, really appreciated the collaboration. I was absolutely inspired by so many of my colleagues in this freshman class. Really excited about all the wealth of experience and lived experience that they'll be bringing into this next 2 years. And as Senator mentioned, I really love to see a pulse check. There's so many tools out there for legislators to get in touch with. Pulse surveys are available, watching it online, and maybe we could have a podcast that Kokua Council might want to sponsor so we can continue to do this more often.
Thank you, Representative Leloy. All right, so that is our closing statement. And now I turn you over to Kokua Council's President, Greg Misakian.
Thank you, Lila. So first, I just want to make a very quick comment before I close out, that this group of legislators, I know we don't have all of them with us at the moment because some had to leave a little early, but this is an excellent group of legislators. I'm still fairly new to Hawaii. I've only been here since 2020, and I've been working with our legislators for a few years now. But this group I have high hopes for, and this was an excellent forum today where you gave us some very substantial responses to some of our sometimes very difficult questions. They are very detailed in some respect. So on behalf of the Kokua Council and our membership, I want to thank all of the new legislators for joining us today, answering our questions, and sharing your ideas with us for the future of Hawaii. And we wish you all the best. And we hope to see you at future Kokua Council programs and events. And again, we wish you great success. We know we'll see you more during the legislative session. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, everyone. You will be seeing us at the legislature. Some of us are frequent visitors.